Hello and welcome to the Farming Today podcast with me, Charlotte Smith. In this episode, nature, the economy and the government's pledge to build, baby, build.
That narrative of nature being a blocker to development isn't just factually wrong, it sends a really terrible signal.
Getting things built and building them quickly is one of the best things the government can do to boost productivity.
First, all this week we are talking beer and cider, from apples and hops to makers and brewers. Well, let's start with beer. There are around 45 hop growers across the country, about half of them in the West Midlands. Simon Parker from Instone Court produces 40 tonnes of hops every year, or he hopes to. This year, like many growers, he's been affected by the very dry summer. At the end of last month, Marie Lennon went along to the final day of his hop harvest in Herefordshire.
There you go, he's got his trailer loaded up, almost overflowing with hops, and there they go. What's happening today, Simon?
So we are hopefully going to finish the 25th season. We're in the last field now. Harvest has been very quick. Unfortunately, it's been a very light year for us in the West Midlands. It started out with a bang. It went really well, and we almost panicked because the hops were getting too far ahead in the season. And then, of course, we had a very long dry spell and the hops didn't move, and we've struggled to get what is effectively half a crop here this year.
What does that mean for you?
I just don't get as much income. Hops are sold on contracts, and you sell in advance. Because it's a perennial crop, you've got to protect yourself for the future. We string the hops each year, like a long pole with like a big sewing needle, and then we come back in the spring, April time, what we call tying, twisting the heads onto the string to make sure you've got the right amount of plants on each string. And then obviously we come to September, take them back to the farm to strip and dry.
How many harvests have you seen?
All my life, everyone. I remember them as a kid when I wasn't really helping. And there's a lovely book called The Scratch of the Hop, and it's very much it. Once it scratches you, you're addicted to them. I am driven by love of hops. I mean, in a more practical sense, there's only a few of us left in it, so we have to stay in it. There's nothing like harvesting, bringing home the crop. It's a great deal of satisfaction.
From the calm of the field, we come here to the place where that crop is processed, and it's a beast of a machine, a series of machines with hooks and vats and conveyor belts and ladders, everything spinning, everything churning, to strip the crop and extract at the end the perfectly formed, fruity hop to be dried.
The last one of these machines was made in 74, 75, so this machine predates that.
You feel very strongly about the hops, but business-wise, how is it going?
It's a very tough market out there. The hospitality trade being hit, the effects of the pandemic have made beer consumption drop, and that's a world figure, not just a home figure. Majority of the British hops goes into cask ales, and cask ales unfortunately are falling too much as people drink at home. We're losing brewers, we're losing pubs. Naturally, I'd like to do a trump and put lots of tariffs on foreign hops because they're our main competition. Another one is just get the hospitality trade back up and running. We rely so heavily on that. This is the finished product that the brewers will then take along and they'll rub and sniff. And when I say rub and sniff, you break them up so you release the oils, and you really do just put your nostrils in there and inhale deeply.
It's herby, it's fruity, it's garlicky almost, it's spicy.
And different varieties give different aromas. This is what the brewers are looking for. They rely on the flavour of their beer by using their nose at this stage.
Simon Parker there in Herefordshire. Gillian Huff is Vice Chair of CAMRA, the Campaign for Real Ale. I asked her if there's less demand for British hops.
I don't think it's so much about less demand. It's now the fact that we're in a global marketplace. So it's much easier for brewers to get hops from all across the world.
And why would they do that, though, when they've got local hops they could use?
There are only actually 4 British-based hop merchants, so there's a limited supply. I'm actually at Sheffield Steel City Beer and Cider Festival, and I was just talking to Lucian from the Turning Point Brewery Bar, and what they're finding is that they can get frozen fresh hops from the USA much quicker than ever before.
Wouldn't that have a price implication, though? Surely that would be more expensive.
Well, that's interesting. They have replicated an 1895 recipe and made it mild. They discovered that the UK hops turned out to be more expensive than imported ones. However, there is a resurgence in traditional styles of hops and new strains are being planted, but the hops that breweries as a general tend to use, British hops, are far outweighed by the sort of juicy citrus hops that can be imported far more easily than they ever have been before.
Is part of this that we have a changing taste for beer, and so the hops that are being used are slightly different, that more American taste?
In the UK, we actually developed all those citrus strains of hops years and years ago in the 50s and 60s. And all those lovely citrusy, tasty hops were there, but they got put on a dusty shelf and forgotten about because the policy was they wanted beer to be boring and bland, which sounds incredible now. So then the rest of the world got on board and they started developing and diversifying their hop strains. We're now catching up a little bit. You can see so many UK varieties now: Harlequin, Emperor, Sovereign, Target, Endeavour. There are British hops out there, but basically it's the affordability and also how they're produced, how they get from plant to brewer, and the processes to actually preserve the aroma and the characteristics of the hop.
What impact does the situation for pubs have here? We heard from the British Beer and Pub Association, which was warning that around 370 pubs will close over the next year or so. Does that then have an impact on demand?
Yes and no. The majority of pubs, to be honest, probably don't sell UK hop-made products. We should be investing in the infrastructure of how the hops are collected to preserve the quality of the cones, but also we as a nation need to celebrate the fact that we have all this variety of beautiful hops and making them affordable to brewers, local brewers, independent brewers.
Gillian Huff there from CAMRA. The government's bill, too, it says, dismantle barriers to get Britain building, will return to the House of Lords today for its report stage. For many bills, this would be a fairly unremarkable late stage in the parliamentary process. But the Planning and Infrastructure Bill gained more than 60 government amendments last week, and conservation campaigners are not happy about the late changes or the government's rhetoric, as Sarah Swadling reports.
The Housing and Communities Secretary, Steve Reed, is a man on a mission with a catchphrase.
So we are marching forward, backing the builders, stopping the blockers. We're going to build, baby, build, to give this...
This was a fringe event at the Labour Party conference. His mission is to build 1.5 million homes this Parliament, as promised. And alongside the Chancellor's mission to seek elusive economic growth, now Build, Baby, Build has been taken up as a government motto in the announcement of a long list of amendments to the planning bill. These include giving ministers powers to override councils' planning refusals whilst they decide on calling in decisions, stopping housing development applications timing out during judicial reviews, and limiting the involvement of the watchdog, Natural England, to higher risk planning applications only. The Build, Baby, Build rhetoric and the timing so late in the parliamentary process, as well as the substance, have caused alarm. Jackie Copley is from the Campaign to Protect Rural England.
Planning needs to be balanced. We need to make sure our economic factors are considered, but we need to consider society and we also need to consider the environment. And we must remember our nature is in very sharp decline. The fact is, we're failing future generations, we're setting them up to fail if we can't ensure all of our planning decisions are done in the public interest, and we need to be assured of that. And that's why there's concern about the weakening of environmental protections by this planning and infrastructure bill.
The government says that it wants a win-win on nature restoration and sustainable development.
Richard Benwell, Chief Executive of the environmental coalition Wildlife and Countryside Link.
But against that promise, we've had a backdrop of constant sniping and disdain, frankly, for wildlife from some parts of government. Attacks on protections that look after newts, on snails, on spiders. And that narrative of nature being a blocker to development isn't just factually wrong, It sends a really terrible signal that the government isn't serious about wildlife protection. And it's that rhetoric that's really made trust in the planning and infrastructure bill so fragile and precarious. There are some ideas in the bill that could be good. So there's a promise not just to offset harm to protected sites and species, but actually to deliver material improvement. But there's so much detail missing about how that's actually going to be achieved.
Well, there's this whole language of building versus blockers.
That's right. And at this late stage in the bill, the changes that the government's brought forward are all about building, building, building. And we're being asked to trust that at the same time the government's going to be serious about nature recovery.
Ministers' argument is that, as they put it, every new house blocked deprives a family of a home, and they want to speed up construction of infrastructure like reservoirs, roads, railways and renewable energy for the greater good. The CBI's Policy and Campaigns Officer, John Foster, agrees that the planning system is in need of reform.
Getting things built and building them quickly is one of the best things the government can do to unlock investment, to create jobs, but also to boost productivity. Whenever I speak to developers, infrastructure providers, they all tell me the same thing. We're not very quick at getting things built in the UK, particularly compared to our competitors like France, like Germany, and like Spain. And so look, what the government is trying to do for the planning and infrastructure bill is to ensure that we can get faster, clearer decisions that can unlock stalled projects, attract new entrants, and ultimately deliver the long-term infrastructure we need to raise living standards across the country.
It's unlikely that there'll be much to block the planning and infrastructure bill's progress through both houses, even with these last-minute build, baby, build amendments. Ministers are confident that it'll become law this year.
Sarah Swaddling reporting there, and that's it from us. I'm Charlotte Smith. The producer is Rebecca Rooney, and Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.